everyone, and welcome to
Random character generator.
Yeah, but I'm like hour 3, but it's actually hour 4 for me. But it's
Greg.
the fourth. Oh, yeah, we've been doing this for a while. That's a lot of stuff. But we're also a little bit confused because we were looking at the live feed up here. So I'm not certain that this is working. So let me actually just double check.
Who can say? Yeah,
who can say, really?
Twitch.
I shall open the
Open
Twitch.
a Twitch.
And just make sure. And this, oh my God, we'll have some like double entendres things here to make sure. But we have one monitor up here. Okay, hey, that's us.
Hey.
And we are on a little bit of a delay. Okay, so it's still working.
Okay,
Great.
good.
We're confirmed. Whew. All right, I'm closing that out. Hi, everybody. Hi, Kate Welch.
Hi, Greg Tito.
How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. How are you?
I wanted to thank you for stepping in and helping Shelley co-host. Was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Was it?
Yeah. I know, right? You've had a whirlwind.
It's been a lot. But yeah, that was when we interviewed Nadpod. That's right. Yeah.
Murph.
He was hilarious.
He's
it was
a good
really
guy.
cool to me. And Shelley just nerding out about him too. She kept it together pretty good, but then I outed her, and before that she was like, I just figured out it's the same guy. It was very cute.
It was fun to listen to.
Yeah.
I seeing that discovery process happen and then having her, dork out was super fun.
I know.
Did you watch Hot Date yet?
Not yet. She
It's on
told
the
me
list.
I had to watch a show called Fleabag on.
Have you not watched Fleabag?
Yeah, that was the exact reaction she had. And I just watched the first 2 episodes last night, and I'm completely addicted to it.
Dude, I remember it was like, I feel like it was 2 or 3 years ago when the first season came out.
Yeah, they're on season 2
now. It
now,
came on Netflix, and I was like, oh my God, this is just such a
so
breath
funny.
of fresh air, and she's so funny.
She's so funny. Does she write it too?
She's a writer.
She's delivering it like a writer would deliver their own material.
Exactly.
And that's, I think, why it's so charming.
That whole look to the camera.
I know, it's
to
so
give
good.
the stuff. It's like
Her face too. She's like,
yeah, I know.
she's got such a good rubbery face.
I want to say a quote, but I can't right now because this is a family-friendly show.
Yeah,
Fleabag is not
family friendly.
I know.
If there are any families out there.
But it is quite hilarious, and I want her to do so much more. Did you hear she's going to do the new, or she's a writer at least for the new 007 movie?
What?
Yeah. She's. I don't think she's the primary writer, but she's like been asked to work on the script. I'm like, that's perfect. Like to have that voice be
So
a part
exciting.
of like the Bond whole thing.
Yeah, especially because there's so much. At least in those first few episodes, it seems like she struggles a lot with feminism and the way that she's expressing feminism.
Yeah.
Which, of course, being anything, as long in the space of womanhood is feminist. As long as you're making your own choices, like that's what feminism is about. So she says in one of the episodes, because they go to that feminist lecture, and the woman is like, "How many of you would trade 5 years of your life for the so-called perfect body?" And she and her sister are the only ones who raise their hand. I was like, "Girl, I'd be right there with you." And she looks at her sister, she's like, "We're bad feminists."
I know. There's that crazy whole idea, but
It's so good.
yeah,
It's so funny. I'm loving it.
I know. So
Anyway, that's Hot Date after I finish Fleabag.
I was just gonna say because there's so much TV out there.
I don't know how anybody has time.
No, you got to pick and choose, right?
And
So,
you have kids.
I have kids.
That's
so
like you have 10% of the time that I have.
I have a much shortened thing, and plus I love video games. So it's like,
I
how do I
know.
balance? Like, I just want to be passive and watch something versus no, I'm tired of watching something. I want to active and play something.
What are you playing right now?
I am playing Homeworld: Deserts of Karak.
Really?
Yes.
Is it good?
I've
never
good.
played Homeworld.
I never played Homeworld either because it was, for those who don't know, it's like a sci-fi game. It's set in the 3 dimensions, and that always confused me. When Homeworld came out, the graphics weren't that great.
Right. It's an older title, right?
But this Deserts of Karak one is 2D. I mean, it's on a planet.
Okay.
It's
good.
planet-bound.
Okay. Yeah, because 3-dimensional travel can be really tricky in video games.
If
they
you
still
don't have
haven't
that,
quite nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember playing X-Wing back in the day, and I got it then.
Oh
but
my God. Well, that's because you had the Sidewinder joystick.
Exactly.
Dude, have we talked about this? Literally my favorite video game. I have a top 5, and number 1 is TIE Fighter for PC.
It's so good. TIE Fighter
is so good.
is the best iteration upon X-Wing.
Oh, yeah.
You had, X-Wing was great.
X-Wing was great.
But TIE Fighter has that whole like level of like the Emperor things and the
inner
secret
circle.
missions.
Oh, God. It was so good.
And, as someone who's hungry for Star Wars stuff at that time, it just hit all the right notes where I'm like, ooh, I feel like I'm part of the Empire, but I also just love the combat.
You can go on YouTube and find all of it, by the way. And sometimes I will just put that gameplay on in the background because the music, the like MIDI music version of the Star Wars music, and the British ass commander being like, there are 3 ships for you to protect. Along the way, you will encounter, and like all of those, it's a nostalgia bomb for me. Speaking of Star Wars, no spoilers, but have you been watching The Mandalorian?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen the third one dropped yesterday, and I haven't seen it yet. But
it might be tonight.
It might be today
Because I'm supposed to go over to a friend's house and we're going to do a watch party.
So good.
I am loving it. Jeremy Crawford said something to me about this yesterday. He was like, I haven't felt like a Star Wars fan in so long, and I finally feel like a Star Wars fan again. And that just like, that really nailed it for me.
Yeah.
Man, when I was a kid, there's so much about this show that is, when I was young, when I was about 13, I started doing Star Wars roleplay online.
Ooh.
And it wasn't
on Galaxies or like in a...
Oh, no, text-based. Yeah.
Ooh, like in a mud?
Not even a mud. This was just a chat room that was like Star Wars chat room. And then you made characters within the limitations of chat room environments. You made characters. You had a little avatar for yourself, which was always a picture of a hot celebrity. And then we would write, anywhere between a line to like pages of our turn. We'd write our turn. And then you'd wait for the other person who's role playing for their post to appear,
right.
And then you read it. It was like a live action forum essentially, but I dug into so much of the extended universe and the backstory of Star Wars as a result of this, and there's a lot of nods to it in The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
where I'm just like, oh my god, they've taken this thing. These people loved this lore as much as I did, and they have expanded upon these little notes. And they're just crushing it to death.
My favorite moment out of, I think it's in the first episode, is when the Mandalorian main character goes to a door and one of the thing comes out that's in Jabba, yes. Right? So it's like just they didn't need to do that.
No.
They could have just had another random character or just open the door up, but just have that nod of the thing being like, oh,
and this the like crappy practical effect of it kind of like bouncing out of the. I was like, yes,
that's exactly the kind of thing
Star Wars.
that again, a TV show, which is like supposed to be like it's high budget, but it's
These
definitely
days,
a lower budget type of thing than the big movies is like to use those notes and make it feel like it's echoes of the things that you loved when you were a kid, without crapping on them like so many of the other pieces of Star Wars has felt like.
They're doing such a good job.
They're doing a good job.
Anyway,
I hope it continues.
I don't mean this to be an ad for Disney Plus because you can't only watch The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, but Disney Plus has turned out to be crazy worth it.
Me too.
I'm having so much. And The World According to Jeff Goldblum. Have you watched that yet?
I haven't yet. No, I've heard good things.
It's so dumb. It's so good though. Like I think they just let Jeff Goldblum off the leash.
Is he just being his like?
He's just doing it.
Thor Ragnarok character.
Oh yeah.
But like
yes.
Timed it up to 11.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you seen Igby Goes Down by any chance?
No. What is it?
Oh my god! If you're a Jeff Goldblum fan, watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He supporting character in it, but it's a different flavor of Jeff Goldblum that I've ever seen. He's kind of like a not sympathetic character in it, and it works
like
out
kind
really
of villainous.
Well. Kind of villainous.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And it's great.
Igby Goes Down. All right.
And Kieran Culkin is in it, and he's fantastic. He's the lead.
Cool.
Yeah, so Macaulay's little brother.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him in anything.
The guy he's in Succession on the HBO show.
Oh.
It's that actor, but when he was like a teenager, so it's almost like a teen comedy.
Oh. Is Succession good?
It's one of those ones that I play video games on while my wife is watching.
Right, yeah.
So I've absorbed it, and I've laughed and enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one line where they're like, that is the whole show for me, where it's one character who's kind of like naive, and he's like, I don't know if can I trust you? And the guy's like, yes, to a point. And that to me is the encapsulation of the entire show.
It looks like serious Arrested Development to me every time I see it.
Yeah.
Like drama Arrested Development. Right. I love Brian Cox, so I want to watch it for him.
And he has the gravitas in it, but like, God, there's Kieran Culkin's in it, and then what's his name from Ferris Bueller's Day Off is in it. Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Cameron's in it, and you don't realize it's him until because he's old and his hair is different and blah blah blah. But you're like, holy shit, that's Cameron.
This is a thing. We quote Cameron a lot in my household.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes. We'll just be laying in bed or something, and my fiance will go, "When Cameron was in Egypt land," and then we'll both go, "Let my Cameron go." I think that might be the best movie of all time. Objectively.
Someone asked me recently, like, what's the movie that you've seen the most? And I was like, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah.
I know every line of it. I know every beat. God, I watched it so much when I was a kid. Bleh, 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 bleh.
I want to ask Ben Looms from Sirenscape if he could put some of those sounds in there so I could recreate that moment.
I'm sure you can find a puke keyboard app for your phone.
Can't be that hard. I really haven't searched for it, but it's probably there. All right. Well, it's as always, it's good to talk to you.
Yes.
Great
talk.
We got a segment we got to do here.
Let's work. Let's do it.
All right. So this is Random Character Generator, and we will be recording. Let's start. You want to do it? We're going to do some clicks. Ah, damn it. We talked so long that we lost our audio feed. Did
It
come
keeps
back?
going to
All right,
sleep
go.
on us.
You remember how to do this? We press the button and then we talk to it, right?
Yeah, we talk to it.
Okay.
It talks back. Well, we go from there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Welcome to another segment of Random Character Generator. I'm Greg Tito, and I'm joined by
Kate Welch. Thank you for saying my name correctly.
I do jazz hands whenever I do it in my head.
It's like a horror movie. That's right. I'm so happy to be back with more Random Character Generator.
Yes, so this is the segment where we take a random character that's generated by D&D Beyond, which has amazing capability and puts together different stats and some choices. We go with level 3 characters so that there's some variation. And we take what's spit out randomly, not always optimally, and the two of us kind of create what that character is all about.
Yeah.
So you ready? You ready to do it? I'm going to press
ready.
the bouton.
All right. Bhutan.
It will go, and it takes a minute. So give it a little bit as we... Oh,
okay.
Man, we got to view the character sheet. That was good sound effects right there.
Oh.
Emmett Singletaker.
Oh, I'm already in love with Emmett Singletaker.
I mean, you are such a good performer that you just need a single take.
He just one single taker, or he only takes the single people.
Ooh, all right. So he is a variant human.
Yeah.
We need to figure out exactly what that means.
Yeah, what variant?
Sorcerer.
Okay,
we haven't done a sorcerer before.
Okay.
Let me go into some details to find out exactly what it is. High intelligence.
Very, very high intelligence, which may or may not be super optimal.
Charlatan background.
Okay.
That's interesting.
He has a false identity. You have created a second identity that includes documentation, established acquaintances, and disguises that allow you to assume that persona. Additionally, you can forge documents. Okay, so Emmett Singletaker is a charlatan and a nasty boy.
Nasty boy already.
A nasty boy. And I can't decide. Do you think Emmett Singletaker is his real identity, or is that the one that he has?
Oh. Emmett Singletaker sounds, I don't know, it sounds kind of made up.
Yes,
right?
It does. It does. It also sounds like it would be Emmett Singletaker. So Emmett Singletaker definitely has like a good rhythm to it. I think that's a made up name.
Right.
I think that's a pen name.
That feels like a show name, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So as it being a variant human, it's got different racial traits. Than you would normally get, I think. So it's got Gith as a language. So Emmett knows Gith, so that's interesting.
Sure. Oh, that makes sense. So maybe he disguises himself as a Gith sometimes.
Oh. Or maybe he is a Gith and this is his human. Oh, I don't know. Let's think about that for a second.
Okay.
Fey Teleportation is the feat that was chosen.
Okay. Fey Teleportation. Let's take a look at that in
Fey
the player's handbook.
We'll find that out. Is you game... Oh, you're great. Yeah.
I got you.
That's part of the variant human bit going on
here. Oh yeah, I see a bunch of variant human stuff. It says page 31 of the player's handbook. I don't know about that. Those are a bunch of names for different kinds of humans. Because it just says you gain 1 feat of your choice. But Fey Teleportation, I'm not totally familiar with, so I will look that up.
Look that up as the feat.
Yeah, it may or may not actually be in the player's handbook.
And it's not coming.
Can you can't click it?
I can't. It goes, but it just goes to that.
Fey Teleportation.
Interesting.
You could probably do a search for it in D&D Beyond.
Sure can.
Let's do that.
All right. As I'm doing that.
Okay, so here's the problem.
Yes.
The reason I said that high intelligence may or may not be beneficial is because that is not what sorcerers rely on for their
Correct.
spellcasting. And unfortunately, our friend Emmett Singletaker has a -3 to charisma.
Which is the stat that you need.
Is the stat that you need for being an effective sorcerer. So here's what we know about Emmett. He pretends to be some things that he's not. He knows Gith, which is sketchy. And he also, he says that he's a sorcerer, but there's no way his sorcery is working out.
Right.
But read to me what Fey Teleportation is.
So Fey Teleportation is your study of high elven lore unlocks some Fey power that elves possess, but we're saying that this variant human is able to grab it, which has 3 benefits. One is you get to increase your intelligence or charisma score, so at least you can help with charisma a little bit.
Well, I think he already chose to increase his intelligence. I think
Right.
that's why he's got a +3.
Oh, you're right. That's a good point.
Yes.
You can read, speak, and write Sylvan as a language, and you learn Misty Step as a spell, and you can cast it once without expending a spell slot.
Per short or long rest.
So basically, that's the Fey Teleportation, is that you can do a Misty Step when you need to.
And the last line of that did say intelligence is your spellcasting ability for this spell.
For Misty Step.
Misty Step.
But not for any other
Yeah.
sorcerer-like spellcasting that you might do.
Gotcha. So that is from Xanathar's, that Fey Teleportation. So here's... So our friend Emmett has been optimizing his build for the it sounds like only for Misty Step.
Yeah.
I mean, none of the sorcerers.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Misty Step has any interaction with intelligence as a stat.
I'm pretty sure you
Right?
don't have to roll for a Misty Step.
No,
Yeah.
you just go
I think
30
you
feet.
just do it. So, even though he is very intelligent, he is also kind of an idiot. Yeah, you just teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space.
So let's go through his stats with everyone. We talked about intelligence, which
Yes.
he's fairly high. Charisma, he's very poor.
Yeah,
he has
total
a
of
4
4. Yep.
natural, -3 on modifier. He's super not strong, meaning actually weak.
Yeah.
With a 7 strength at a -2 modifier. Is dexterous with a +2, 14. Average constitution, but high wisdom.
High wisdom, high intelligence, high dexterity. And none of those are the stats that you want as a sorcerer. Those are not useful. His specializations are he has specialized in deception, and he's gotten himself to a -1 on that, which is great. But also insight, nature, religion, and sleight of hand. Those all make sense with his stats.
Right.
So he knows he's not very deceptive, which means he's a bad charlatan. He's not good. He's able to do these forgeries and to pretend to be someone else, but he's not good at it. And that's why he has taken a proficiency in deception, because he's trying to mitigate how utterly terrible he is, but he's still really, really bad. He's still taking a negative to his deception. So that means I think Emmett is very forthright. I think that he wants maybe like he thinks that crime and being like a spy in the world, like moving around with a false identity, is something that could make him more mysterious, or maybe help out do we know his sorceress origin? Do we have that on our...
We do. Storm sorcery.
Okay. All right. So he's got tempestuous magic. So he's a storm sorcerer. Okay. How about this? So Emmett was born under the auspices of a storm. He's a variant human, and perhaps the Fey teleportation feat and those racial bonuses mean that he was raised in some kind of group home, and that he learned a lot of tips and tricks from other kids. He learned how to speak Gith. He learned some elven stuff that gave him this feat in Fey teleportation.
Okay.
But he also learned how to pickpockets, Oliver Twist style. He's out with this group of other orphans or something, and they're just, they're making their way around whatever city that they're from. Does he have a background? It's just the criminal one, right? Like
the background is the charlatan.
The charlatan.
The charlatan
okay.
background.
Okay, so we don't know where he's from necessarily.
Yeah, so I like where you're going with the because it's a way to pull in all these disparate events.
Yeah.
So like he was inspired when he was a kid because he had a friend who could speak Gith, and
Yes,
he had an
yeah.
elven
Right.
Or a half elven friend in the group home or,
Yep.
or orphanage, and that's how he learned that.
His two best friends. Maybe the Gith kid was, or the kid who could speak Gith, even if they weren't a Gith
Yeah.
themselves, was like an enemy, and he learned gifts so that he could learn how to. When this kid was like talking about him, like saying mean things, he could figure it out because it really bothered him, and he was able to learn it pretty quick because he's got this high int and super high wisdom, so he's able to pick up that language even just from hearing it. Especially as a kid, you're just a sponge, right?
Exactly.
And then his best friend was the elf, and that's why he can speak Gith, but he doesn't have any other. But the Fey teleportation thing is very cool. It's something that he learned from this elven friend of his. And so now he's able to do this Misty Step skill. And it's kind of the only spell he's actually really good at because, again, like everything else that relies on your charisma modifier is going to fail almost all the time. He does have Disguise Self. So that is I think that's another instantaneous one.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, I think so.
One action.
Yeah, and you don't need... Yeah, you don't need a roll on that. So that is useful for him. He's able to disguise himself through magic and also through forgery.
Right, but the save DC for discovering through it is very low. So his save DC is 7.
Are you serious?
Yes, on his disguise self.
Oh my God.
Which is horrible.
Emmett.
Yeah, so someone who's trying to peek through it, and that's where he's just like, well, it didn't work. I'm Misty stepping out of here. Like he.
That's right. Yes.
He gets caught a lot, and he knows how to get out of situations.
Totally.
His sleight of hand is high, so he might be his whole strategy might just be, I'm going to take what I can and Misty step out of here and just use that as my crutch in order to survive in the criminal underworld.
So in this criminal underworld, in this gang, his role would be, and feel free to vamp on this, but in my mind, he's the bait, right?
Oh, okay.
So he is someone who's creating a distraction because he has such an instantaneous way of getting out of a pickle. And so when other people are like, okay, we're gonna rob this market, so go up and pretend to be somebody that this guy knows, or like an angry customer or something, and then that'll give us enough time. And then when they inevitably discover you, unless they're wicked dumb too, then you just Misty step on out of there, and we got a bunch of free tomatoes.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a pretty good plan.
Yeah. I mean, he's not good at anything else except escape, like you said. Like he's the bait,
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's the cover.
So how do you think his low charisma manifests? Like, is he does he have a scar that makes him look really ugly, and so he's mistrustful, and you can't even his disguise self, he still has that scar, or is he bumbling and fumbling and in his his words, and so that's why people disbelieve him?
What's his alignment? Can you scroll
good
up?
question. Alignment.
I think it's up top.
Is that in there, or is it in background description? I think, you know what? If I remember correctly, it never tells us.
It's none.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the randomizer, it's up to us.
Okay. Well, give me an alignment, and I'll answer your question.
I'm going to go with chaotic good.
Chaotic good. Okay. So, I think that the way his charisma manifests is not in necessarily in like physical ugliness, but in being almost like incapable. He is really incapable of subterfuge, right? So he is the kind of person who like the movie Liar Liar with Jim Carrey. He is so brutally honest and forthright and incapable of deception that it's incredibly off-putting. Like, most people can't stand him.
That's a great kind of character of that Jim Carrey in Liar Liar, because he is intelligent, extremely intelligent, just like Emmett here, in that he can try to use his smarts to get out of situations, but he can't use deception, or he's not as he can't just lie his way out of things.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's like who Jim Carrey becomes is kind of the epitome of chaotic good in that movie, because he is being very honest, which is a good trait, but he's causing chaos wherever he goes, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's probably what Emmett Singletaker is about.
Now, if he's trained in deception, so he might try, especially if he's able to get someone who he knows might not be smart enough, like say if he's captured by goblins, he might still try to talk his way out of it.
Right.
Might fail a lot, but
he might fail a lot, and it is only a -1.
Yeah.
But it's not great odds. It sometimes will work, but it's not great odds. And I think he probably got that deception proficiency from all of the rest of these criminals that he was hanging out with as a kid. Yeah, and they've done their best to take him under their wing and be like, bro, bro, you've got to figure out how to deceive people. You're getting caught all the time. We've been rescuing you from the barracks, the prisons, like 8 times this year. We gotta figure out how to make you better at this. You're a liability. And he's like,
you're just the bait. And then maybe they're the ones who keep telling him that's all you're good for, but he wants more. He wants to kind of go beyond it and be like, but I can do all these spells.
Right.
I can, if I need to, I can control fire. Like, that's cool, right?
Right. And he can control the wind. Maybe that's something that comes in useful as well. I do get the feeling that he's being used by people, and that he's kind of sweet, and obviously very smart, but just not good at what he's like. It's kind of an empathetic story to be like, I know that this is what I'm supposed to be good at. I can feel it in my blood, like my actual sorcery is there. And I'm just so bad at it. Like the frustration of like the struggle, knowing that you're so bad at the thing that you know, you can feel it. You can control the wind sometimes. Maybe he doesn't even know he's a sorcerer. Maybe it's so unpredictable and he's so bad at it that when he is able to like cast a spell and like gusts of wind come blowing through, he's like, oh, that was a strange coincidence.
Right? Yeah, because
right?
in addition to having a low save DC, his spell attack modifier is a negative.
It's not good.
I don't think I've ever seen that in any character that I've ever seen where like your attack bonus is actually a -1.
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
I know.
So if he tries to land with a Ray of Frost or something like that, chances are he's not going to.
Yeah, he's got a decent chance of it not working. And so, yeah, when magic does come out of him, probably for most of his life, he's been like, interesting. And the only thing he knows he can definitely do is Misty Step. So he might even think he's a wizard. Who knows?
Well, here's what's interesting. He has True Strike as a cantrip that he knows, which gives you advantage on attack rolls.
True.
So maybe it's the type of thing where Emmett, he's trying so hard that if he concentrates and True Strike is a bonus action? No, it's one action. So he has to spend a whole round thinking, and then he's like, okay, this one's going to hit. This one's going to really hit.
Yes.
And he gets to roll with advantage, and he has a higher chance, even though he's got a -1, to kind of land that.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That's true that would help.
But not all the way.
And it would also like it costs you a whole action too. So that's your whole turn. So he's not great at like being quick on the ball either. So like every battle he's got to start. He's like, okay, True Strike. Okay, I'll wait.
Just give me a moment. Give me a second. I got this.
Okay.
All right. And I still misses. Yep. Come on, Emmett.
Once I got a 4 and a 2.
What's your deal?
Still bad.
Right. So I'm loving this idea of him having this like Oliver Twist like thing where Fagin and the Artful Dodger are trying to like use him to their advantage.
I mean, so,
do you think he's got a camaraderie with his gang, or do you think they are kind of manipulating him?
He's smart and wise too. So maybe he's just he's like book smart, right? And maybe he's spent most of his time whenever there aren't things for him to do. He's just like he's reading whatever he can, and he's super smart. So he just might not be the street smart, So book smarts versus street smarts. He does have wisdom, so he's got some street smarts.
Right, and he has enough insight where he can be like, hey, no, you're not on the up and up.
Yeah, so that's interesting. It's very easy for him to tell when other people are being deceptive, but it is very difficult for him to be deceptive. So it kind of makes him a walking lie detector, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I wonder if they use him as being like, all right, hey, we're going to bring you into the situation. Don't say anything unless I ask you whether or not we're being, the wool pulled over our eyes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Will you scroll down so I can see more of his proficiencies?
Yeah.
He's also proficient with nature.
Right.
And sleight of hand. So I feel like that sleight of hand bonus would be excellent for those tomato robberies that we were talking about earlier. So he might also be someone who's used for those kinds of things. Excellent with religion. Okay, so yeah, nature and religion for this guy. It does seem like he's been reading a lot. Yeah, those are book smarts, and those things wouldn't be super useful at living a life of crime on the streets of Baldur's Gate or whatever. But
And the fact that he sorry, go ahead.
no, please.
Gith, Primordial, and Sylvan as languages are so strange
So
of a combination. But I wonder if that feeds into he knows the secret languages of the world, so he's able to kind of suss out things that others can't either. So he's almost known as this sounding bar, being like, hey, does that seem right?
Yeah.
This guy is saying, talking to us in Elvish. Is that right?
Yeah. So that might go with his human lie detector thing. The fact that he's assembling a collection of really obscure languages.
Yeah.
There's probably plenty of people in the organization who can speak, Elven. They can speak Dwarvish, whatever. You probably don't need a lot of those translators, but the weird languages, you never know when you're going to get some weird. What was it? Sylvan,
Primordial, and Gith.
Yeah, you get some weird missive and it's written in Primordial, and you know a Primordial guy, right? And so he seems like he'd be really good to bring to a trivia night. Like the way how much stuff he is proficient in when it comes especially to not only nature and religion, he's got a +5, but history he's got a +3, arcana he's got a +3.
Right, because
and this is a 3rd level character. He's very well versed in a bunch of subjects. So he would be an awesome person. If you have some kind of text that needs to be unveiled, he is going to be your guy. He might not even like the life of crime stuff, but he knows that he's supposed to do it as a part of his gang.
Right.
But where his passion is always in texts, in reading texts and decoding them. He's never gonna obfuscate. If he's like, oh, this is a bounty to kill you and your whole family, actually.
Interesting.
How about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's that low charisma, right? He has no social graces. He's just going to be like, oh, yeah, you guys are screwed. There's primordials coming after you.
Yeah.
I don't see a way out of this one.
Right, and then his gang might be like, hey, just keep talking and
we'll pick their pockets.
Right, and then we'll go around and deal with him.
Oh, interesting. So what about this? He operates a business in Baldur's Gate.
Oh, okay.
And it's this obscure bookstore, like a collector's book place. And you walk in, and there's no windows. You walk in the front door of this tiny, cramped shop, and there are books everywhere in every kind of conceivable language. They even go on the ceiling somehow. And so you kind of walk into one of those aquarium tunnels where the fish are all around you, but it's just books.
Right.
And you walk, and there's Emmett Singletaker, a variant human. and he's always got his nose buried in a book, and he doesn't care about you unless you have something interesting for him, right? You're like, hey, I've got this weird new text I need you to translate for me. And generally speaking, it's like one of those tattoo artists that's just like, no, this isn't interesting enough. No, this is just an experience that I've had. Be like, no, this idea is derivative. I will not be participating in the tattooing of this. But he's a bit like that. He's like, yeah, this is pretty standard stuff. I think he had a lot more luck down the street. Yeah. But if they bring him something rare, maybe that's how he can use his intelligence and his wisdom and that insight skill to know, this person is probably some kind of wealthy investor. Or a loaded adventurer, or their pockets heavy with coin, and that's how he can start to activate the people who come out of the secret doors and those book tunnels very, very quietly.
Yes,
and then
because he's low at deception, he's like, there is a rich person here that I would like to take advantage of.
Person's like, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was speaking in primordial. That means you are a rich person and I want to take advantage of you in primordial.
I do think he would be incapable of lying to a person. So the organization would have to sort of warp around that particular issue. So it would be like, all right, we got to practice how he can rip people off without lying to them.
Yeah.
Because when he starts to lie, it becomes extremely obvious. He cannot tell a lie. So he's fine with crime. That's not a lie. He's not being deceptive. He's very open with it. But he does have to have secret ways of communicating secret code words that don't trigger his terrible deception. And he's, I think as a result of this, he probably comes off as a very strange individual.
Yeah.
He is, because the way he uses language is because he's trying to like talk around things without having to tell a lie, which he cannot do. So he's very much like, they'll be like, oh, is this book worth anything? And he wants them to think no, so that he can have it, right? And he'll sell it for however many hundreds of gold. But he's like, is this book worth anything? Well, tell me your definition of worth. And they'll be like, well, gold. And be like, it is worth gold, but how much? And like he's just trying to talk around it.
Isn't knowledge worth more than gold?
Which he would believe.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's probably, and it's an excellent distraction for whatever crimes or whatever silent muggings are happening with this person. But he's also good with that sleight of hand, so he can probably swap out the book. Something
right. And so he'd be like, well,
similar.
this book that I'm holding in my hands right now is worth 10 silver.
Yes, yeah.
Because I just did a switcheroo.
Right.
I mean, no, I did not.
Yes.
I said that, yeah. Yeah. All right. I like all that. So
I like him.
I was going to have another question, but you answered it in a way like what he sounds like. It sounds like he molded to different audiences, but he always tries to appear bookish in a way.
Yeah, he's esoteric. I don't even think he tries to appear it. I think he just is. And he's got a maybe, I don't think he has a fake accent, which is funny because he's all about this forgery and disguised self for every conscious choice he's taken.
Yeah, I wonder though if he so he built up this front, which we're saying is Emmett Singletaker. But what do his friends call him? Like, what's his actual name? Like, what did he grow up with in this group home?
I don't know. Something probably derogatory, making fun of his bookishness. Something like Four Eyes, or if he was, let's see, Emmett Singletaker. If that's the name that he's always gone by, even if it isn't his real name, then what's a name, a mean version of that kids would come up with?
Inty. No.
Inty. Nerdo. Emmett Singletaker. Emmett. I'm terrible at making fun of people's names. Singlesnaker. Dingle.
How about just Books?
Dinglefaker.
Hey, Books.
Hey,
Get
Books.
over here.
Books is pretty good, especially for like a low int group of thugs. You
Yeah.
know, like these street criminals. They'll be like, "Hey, Books.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll take you to Books.
Books knows.
And the name of the shop is also just Books.
It's actually just a picture of a book.
Just Books. So people are like, "You're gonna take me to Books? Is that a place?" And they're like, they see the books, they're like, yes, okay, it is a place.
I guess that
and
makes
it's
sense.
like but it's also a person,
Right?
And it's probably just because he's been in that shop for so long that his criminal contacts, like A, they don't know his name, B, they don't care, and C, when they say Books, everybody knows who they're talking about because there's a sign that says Books in the neighborhood, right?
Right.
So.
That makes sense. All right. Final question then. What does he look like? What is his appearance?
I think that based on his established business, and that he's been there for some time enough to get a reputation and to have all these criminal contacts. We've kind of talked about how he might have been a criminal kid, like Ray's Oliver Twist style, but I think he's older now. And in my head, he's a variant human, and I'm not sure that there are rules governing what that looks like, but he's sort of almost gnomish in appearance.
Okay.
He's got white hair, and it's kind of sprouting like Wolverine style over each ear, and is balding down the middle. And he's got tiny little round glasses that sit way up high on his face.
Ooh.
And he's just constantly, he's got kind of a turned up nose. And he's older, but he's pale. He never goes outside. And he's got a variety. When you come in, he's reading books, but he's got all different kinds of spectacles that he can use to read them, just in case it's a language that has really tiny font or something. And he's like, okay, well, I gotta get my tiny glasses out. And so every time you see him, he's got this array. Maybe it's around his neck.
Oh,
he's got like all different kinds of glasses to wear for each kind of text. And he speaks in that. It's not quite a fake accent, but it is maybe like trying to appear quite posh. so that it seems like the business is on the up and up. Whatever the posh Baldur's Gate accent, which of course, if anybody were like, I would like to do an insight check on that accent, it doesn't sound convincing, then they would find out like, no, he's 100% faking his accent. But I've never done that check before. So
yeah,
maybe I should.
Yeah, exactly. Get on it. All right. Do you think he dresses well? Like, do you think he tries to appear more rich than he is, or do you,
I think he's rich.
Yeah.
I think he's got money because he's been in a very fruitful criminal business, and they keep him well paid to be the front as well.
So he's well tailored and
yeah. I see him in like a tweedy kind of vest. And an overcoat.
Patches on the elbows.
Definitely. He's got I think he wears the same thing every day. I don't think he has a lot of clothes, but the clothes that he wears are very nice. But he always looks the same. He wears like an overcoat that is almost like a cape. And so when you see him bustling around the street, he's short and everybody knows him. They're like, oh, there goes Books. Yep. And it's very rare for him to see, but he scuttles out like a bug. Scuttles out of his door into another door and tries not to stay outside too long. And
he's wise enough to know that people probably don't like him, but he doesn't really care.
No, I don't think he cares at all. I think that the life that he's set up for himself is perfectly adequate. And he's, maybe not what he wanted to do with his time altogether, but he does get to sit around and read all day long. And that's always what he's been good at. So
nice.
Yeah.
Do you think he could be convinced to be an adventurer?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that he is the driver for him is knowledge. And that joke you made is like, what could be worth more than knowledge? I think that might actually be how he feels. So if someone were like, hey, it's not a book, it's text, but it's carved on the inside of a temple, and we're going to have to go deep into the jungle in order to find it. But it's written in primordial and weird emanations, and creatures keep coming out of a portal that's right next to it, and we can't translate I think you might be able to convince him to go out. He might only want to travel by night or something because he doesn't like the sunshine very much, but he would come out for the right money.
Right money. Right. Yeah. But he's like, but I'm not strong.
Yeah, you'd have to protect him for sure, unless you want somebody to be your bait and then misty step out of there. He's very good at that.
You're like, that's what I can do.
Exactly.
I'm very good at disappearing and making things disappear.
Yes. Yes.
All right. I love that. All right.
That's
so
awesome.
To sum up, Emmett Singletaker, or Books, he is a human sorcerer, not strong, not very charismatic at all. No one really likes him, but he has a very high intelligence, a high wisdom, and a high dexterity, which allow him to survive with his gang in the streets of Baldur's Gate. He could misty step out of problems whenever they occurred, usually by the fact that he was a terrible way of lying and deceiving. So he very quickly learned that he couldn't talk his way out of things, although he still might try every once in a while.
Maybe.
And then book it out of there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he got Books as a nickname too.
Craig Tito, you genius.
He can book it out of there. Using his Misty Step Fey Teleportation feat, which gives him Misty Step. He has some offensive magic. He can cause sleep, do some disguise spell, but generally those are not very good unless he concentrates using his True Strike spell for an entire action.
The way he causes sleep is by boring people to death. So I think he casts sleep on you by you roll 5d8. Okay, so
so that's not affected.
Not affected by his terrible stats.
Yes.
So he just starts lecturing about some weird obscure text that he read recently, and 5d8 worth of hit points of creatures are put to sleep.
That's the vocal component of his sleep spell. Is just
so that's a lecture.
Going on about his primordial knowledge.
I recently read the 14th volume of the history of Cormyr's Tears, a very obscure plant.
Right, and he pulls on that from his nature proficiency as well as his knowledge of religion, and then he has enough sleight of hand where he can pick pockets if he needs to, but it's not necessarily something.
I think he does it
to
swap the books.
To swap the books.
I think he does it when he knows he has a valuable book. He'd be like, "Let me take this in the back, and I will do a more thorough examination."
Excellent.
Boop.
Bloop. I'm going to Misty Step out of here.
That's right.
No matter what. And then he runs a shop in Baldur's Gate.
Mm-hmm.
named
Books.
Books, just
Yep.
like his nickname. But he likes to take on the persona of Emmett Singletaker in order to be a friend.
Yep.
All right.
He's awesome. I love
He's
him.
awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to go on adventures with him.
Woohoo!
He's going to be a terrible / really fun.
He would be an awesome, I love this character as a DM character.
Yes.
It would be so much fun to play this guy to a party of people. So I
Agreed.
hope there's a dungeon master out there who finds that useful.
Excellent. All right. Well, and as always, we will put Emmett Singletaker up in our show notes as I just had a little bit of an accent there. In our show notes.
Inside check.
Uh,
No, it's fake.
And it should be public. And yeah, it's very fake. I'm just like Books. And feel free to use our description of Emmett Singletaker in your game or just use it as a way for inspiring other ways that you can press the random character generator and come up with a fun NPC for your campaign.
That's right.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, Kate. How can people get in touch with you and find out what's going on?
I am still on my Twitter hiatus, but I am still on Instagram where the cool kids are. And my name there is the same as Kate Welch.
Jazz hands. Excellent. Thank you so much. Always fun
Thank you,
to
Greg.
create a character with you in a half hour.
Yeah, I love
enjoy
this.
it.
I love this segment.
I do it. Let's do it again.
Hurrah!
Hurrah! Thanks a lot.
Bye.